Hi, welcome to Drama Means podcast, and today we're talking about a ongoing Japanese anime called Iruma-kun Goes to Demon School. Today, drama means demons, drama means a place to belong, and drama means animation.
So before we dive in, figured we'd go through a little summary. We start the anime and we meet Iruma-kun, and he's working this horrible job on a fishing boat or in the back of a fishing restaurant, and it's just cleaning and horrible. And there's a narration, and we kind of learn that Iruma-kun is a child of horrible parents who make him work night and day for their own well-being. And that is when he's kind of whisked away by this weird guy who just doesn't quite explain who he is, and we come to find out that he is a demon from the demon realm, and he has taken Iruma-kun back with him to his home to live in the demon realm forever because Iruma's parents have sold him to this demon. And so he's like, wait a minute, what's happening? I'm getting transported to another realm. My parents have sold me. He's super scared. And the old man kind of offers him a deal. He's like, you can live with me in the demon realm. You're going to be living here as my grandson, and you're going to go to school, and we're going to live together, and we're going to be a family. And if you don't like that, just tell me now. And so Iruma-kun kind of weighs his options and says, I guess I will stay here in the demon realm. And the old man kind of says, well, good, because if you didn't want to, I was probably going to have to kill you. Because there's no way I could let you down here and then let you back up to Earth. No harm, no foul. And so we kind of get the feeling that this old guy doesn't really have a family. He lives alone with his butler, very wealthy, and he just really wants a grandson to spoil. Now, we never quite are explained why he doesn't want a son and why he wants to skip right to grandson, but we get the feeling that he's going to move heaven and earth to make Iruma's time in the demon realm the best it possibly can be. Which part of that means he's going to be going to the best demon school around. The top of the top line, demon high school. It's high school, right?
It's high school.
Yeah, so he's going to go to the top of the line high school, which his grandfather is also basically the chairman of. And it turns out that his grandfather is one of the most powerful demons among all the demons. But the big secret is no one in the demon realm can know that Iruma is actually a human. Because if they did know that, they'd want to eat him. Because to demons, humans are food.
Also, to demons, humans are a myth. Like, a lot of people don't actually believe that humans exist because no one has ever seen one. Not that no one has ever seen one, but definitely amongst the high school students, they've never seen one before, and so they feel like humans are actually like a myth, or like unicorns, or elves or whatever. Like, they don't believe that humans actually exist.
And they kind of set up early that only the most powerful of powerful demons can make the trip from the demon realm to the human world. So only a few demons have ever made that trip. So the vast majority of the population have been told stories about these mythical human creatures, and they're really tasty, and they're supposed to want to eat them, and they're their kind of enemy. But no one really understands like what a human really is or what a human really looks like. And so as he comes to realize, like, oh, they don't really know humans any more than humans know demons. So when we first started watching this one, I wasn't really sure what to think, because I don't know if we have any rules in our mind of what a demon school is supposed to be, or what the experience of going to a demon school is going to be. Like, I feel like when you watch My Hero Academia, which for those who don't know is a very, very popular anime, it's about a superhero high school. You can kind of imagine what going to a superhero high school would be like. Oh, they teach you how to become a superhero. It's pretty self-explanatory. With this one, it's like, well, what is demon school? What does that even mean?
Yeah, I actually don't know, because I think I've watched some that is like demon school, or you go, or like a witch school, so you kind of think it's, like a lot of magic happens. And but then I also have watched ones where it's like a magic school, but then it's just slice of life, where you just go through the motions of a normal high school kid, or a kid that's going to school, and then you make friends, you find a girlfriend or a boyfriend or a significant other, whatever it is, and it's just, and then like, go through class. So that, like, part of me was kind of expecting that. But we kind of went into it without any expectations. We didn't have any kind of clue of what we thought it was going to be like. But I think we had just finished another anime and we just hopped right onto this one.
Well, the interesting thing about this one is it kind of does a little bit of both. You kind of have some of the high school students who don't have some sort of stated driven goal of like what they hope to achieve out of school. They're just going to high school. And then others have, I'm going to be the Demon King. I'm going to be the next Demon King. That's why I'm going to school, because I need to be the best of the best. And other people just have different goals, to be powerful or to, get a good demon job so you don't end up in the demon mines. I don't know what a bad demon job is, but so to me it was interesting because it feels a little bit slice of life, but then they kind of mix in these overarching goals and the problems that are facing demons, where you have kind of old school demons who think it should just be survival of the fittest, the toughest win, and everyone else is just food. And then this new regime of demons who kind of think, well, no, we should be civilized. Why do we have to live in a barbaric society just because we're demons in the demon realm? So there's definitely this push-pull between these two factions.
Yeah, and as you start watching it, you find that people want to revert back to like how it was before, where demons are just mean and savage, and whereas like now everyone's living a very civilized life where people are having, they go to the amusement park or they go to school and they have grocery stores. Whereas I think like the rebels are trying to revert back to like very archaic times.
Only the strong survive. I think they make it very, it's definitely one of those only the strong survive mentality coming from the old school people, because like they don't like humans, but they also don't like weak demons. They kind of look down on demons who don't have strong magic or don't have strong abilities as kind of a waste of space. And they're like, who are these weaklings? They should just be fodder for the rest of us. Strong demons are the only demons that matter. So it is kind of an interesting parallel, I think, to things that happen in our own society now, where just because you're the biggest, strongest, fastest doesn't mean you get to make all the rules, because then we do revert to kind of a barbaric society where strong people rule and might is right, and that's the last word on anything. I also think the tone of this one, I wasn't quite sure. I thought we would be watching something a little lighter, something a little more comedic and not quite as serious.
It is quite humorous. Like, they have like a lot of quirky characters in the way how, the grandfather Sullivan, like this really crazy powerful demon, and is the chairman of the high school, just dotes on Iruma and then like spoils him and gets sad when Iruma doesn't give him enough attention. It's just like that, there's a lot of like quirky humor in it. And then like Asmodeus, where he loses to Iruma once, and then all of a sudden he's just this devout follower, and then who ends up, they become friends, but it's just like, they have a lot of like, I think they have a lot of humor in it, and also, it's the characters themselves are really funny, and Clara is like this weird, odd duck, and...
Well, she's a cartoon within a cartoon.
Yeah.
Like, she's so weird in amongst an animated show already. You're like, whoa, like she's so out there. And she's like in high school, but she almost behaves like she's like 9. Like, I just want to play all day. I don't want to think about anything serious. So yeah, no, the humor is definitely kind of, I think, probably the priority of the storytelling. Like, humor first, like friendship and character development second, and then probably kind of action, adventure third, if that does that jive with what you think?
Yes, I agree on that. And honestly, I would probably want a little bit more adventure and action and like, the struggles of like, because ultimately, they're dropping lots and lots of hints that Iruma is going to be the Demon King, the next Demon King. And so we're just like waiting for that to happen because it's like all the clues point to Iruma being Demon King. So I want to watch the struggles of like getting to Demon King. Like as we mentioned before with My Hero Academia, we're watching Midoriya or Deku become, the next All Might, the most powerful superhero in his world, right? Going through that path and his struggles, and we're watching him go on the adventures and the journey together, and that's what I kind of want to see with Iruma. That part of it is very much on the back burner.
Yeah, I agree. I think, especially in the first season, at the beginning of the first season, Iruma's goal is just to not get eaten by other demons. Like, he's like, oh, if they find out I'm a human, they will eat me. And so he's literally going to school every day trying to keep a low profile. And of course, nothing he does allows himself to keep a low profile. He immediately gets in a fight with the bully and wins, which is even worse for him.
He's not the bully.
He was kind of like,
yeah,
he was like, oh, I'm such a badass, look at me.
Well,
and
he was the cool guy that everyone wanted to be with or be friends with or be, but I never saw him as a bully.
Oh, I thought he for sure, he was like, oh, out of my way, I'm too cool for you, get out of my way. And then, challenges Iruma to a fight immediately because it's like, oh, you're not on my level. I don't know, it felt like a bully encounter. Oh. And to me, just me, me personally, it felt like a bully encounter that he's like, I just want to go to school, keep my head down, hopefully no one notices me. Oh, this guy's noticed me. Oh, this guy's challenged me. Now the whole school has noticed me. Oh, I accidentally beat him in a fight through sheer luck and my one special skill, which I also want to talk about in a second. And so now he's the most famous kid at school 10 minutes into becoming a student there.
Yeah, true.
Which is his nightmare.
Yeah. I guess I never saw as a bully. I always just saw him as the cool guy that everyone wanted to be. Or be like, or to be with, be friends with, things like that. So I never saw him as a bully. But I guess so. After he becomes Iruma's friend, other than Iruma, he does think that he's better than everybody else. Oh yeah, for sure.
But I think going back to one of the things we were talking about is he doesn't have much of a goal early on as far as becoming the Demon King. Like Deku at the beginning of My Hero Academia goes, I know who I want to be. I want to be All Might. That's who I looked up to. That's who I will become. And then every other student in the class, to a certain degree or not, also want to be the best hero they can be.
True.
So it puts him at odds with Bakugo, and it puts him at odds with other people in the class, whereas this, he doesn't have that hardline goal of, I want to be the Demon King, because he's just trying to survive. Like, his grandfather hasn't given him that much information about how demon society works.
True. Till season 3, there's nothing in his mind where he's like, I'm going to be the next Demon King. Like, that is never his goal.
No, the closest they come is he wants to, increase his rank and be a better student.
Yeah.
He has these small goal shifts, which is I just want to survive. And then I want to make friends. And then I want to do well in school. And there are these small shifts, but he doesn't have some larger goal in mind. So I feel like the series going forward at some point, that will be on his radar, possibly? No, you don't think he'll ever get there?
I don't think so. That's never something that I think he will ever think that. I think he will fall into it. He will slowly develop where it becomes that he's the Demon King. He fits all the criteria of being the Demon King. I don't think that will ever be his goal.
I would tend to agree with that. Hearing you say it, I don't think it can be his apparent goal. I think maybe the people around him, even already in the series, are starting to go, oh, that might be something bigger than we think it is.
Yeah. By season 3, fully believes that Iruma's going to be the next Demon King. And then
I think there's a few of the adult characters, too, that are like, oh, because there's a whole prophecy involved with who the next Demon King is going to be. It's a person from a foreign land that has this ring and this certain demeanor, and he fits all these things to a T. to the people that know all the details about him. Not everyone knows all these details, but the people who are starting to realize, oh wait, he's a human. As a few of the demons realize, wait, he's a human. And he has this ring. Oh, he's from a fort. And they're starting to put the prophecy together. I think you're right, because that's kind of the thrust of the show, is he's like got his eye on the prize, whatever it is, whether it's just surviving or not. And then he kind of keeps falling into these other things. And through his personality, through his like willingness to accept anyone, and his general demeanor of being like, hi, I'm Iruma, sticks his hand out and wants to shake your hand, whether you're trying to murder him or kiss him. Just his personality overwhelmingly wins the day.
Yeah.
And so he never expected to be the top class. He never expected to be powerful magic demon. But he kind of falls into it as he realizes he's good at this or good at that, or lucky into this or that.
Yeah.
Can I say one thing that I actually really like a lot about this, and it has to do with his grandfather, which is there's so many characters that are so obsessed with being the most powerful demon. Like Az is pretty obsessed about being pretty powerful, and I can't remember the big guy who's just like, I'm the next demon lord, and he's just like, he's only friends with you if you're also strong.
Yeah.
And there's a lot of characters like that. Even Caligo, the teacher, is like a little bit jealous of Sullivan and some of the other demons that are powerful. He wants to be the most powerful. So you have Sullivan, who is possibly the most powerful demon.
Well, they keep pushing Sullivan to be the next Demon King. Yeah. Like, everyone's like, why haven't you broken through to the next level yet? You are literally, the best candidate to be the next Demon King.
Yeah, and the only thing he wants is to be a good grandpa.
Yeah.
And, like, he wants the love of his grandson to come home and hug him, and he, like, dotes on him. And those different times where he's, like, being overly cutesy, and he's just like, oh my gosh, all I want is my grandson to love me. And it's hilarious because it's such a reverse from what he is. Like, you could see him as a demon younger in high school, wanting to be the most powerful demon, and then he's kind of gotten there and realized what he really wants is this family he never stopped to get.
Yeah.
And that's metaphorically a little interesting dynamic for him to have with the world around him. To say, well, I became the most powerful demon. You know what? It's not actually that great. It's much more fun to, like, have people around you that you love and that you can spoil and that you can share your wealth with. Because I'm powerful, wealthy, influential, and important, and I kind of just want a grandkid to spoil.
Yeah. There's a scene where Sullivan gets interrogated because they have suspected him to bring a human into the demon world, which he did, and he's totally guilty. So he's sitting in the interrogation room, entertaining with the idea and going along with, the interrogators, and then I think ultimately the interrogators forget how powerful Sullivan is, and then the minute it was like Iruma needed his attention or something, he's like, oh, I'm leaving this interrogation, and then he just made the whole room, like, no one could move, and he was just that powerful, and he could be super dark and like sinister, but he was like, oh, okay, I'll play with you, I'll just like sit here and let you interrogate me and then pretend like I'm scared of you. But then when I want to, I'm going to just get the fuck out of here because no one can stop me.
Well, it's an interesting dichotomy, right? Because when he does go have those dark moments, it's so different than the character we see most of the time, which is kind of a bumbling doofus who just wants Iruma to have a good day at school and pack his lunch. And then when it gets serious, it's just like, it is this dark, sinister, like, I am so much more powerful than everyone, don't fuck with me or my kid. And like, he becomes the kind of the Papa Bear. And I think there's kind of an ongoing theme of this kind of double, what do you call it? Like, not double life, but kind of two sides to every person that you kind of come across. Like, you come across even Az, who is like cool, popular, all the girls like him, deathly afraid of his mother, and afraid of his mother embarrassing him. And so you have these kind of two sides to every character. You have the butler Opera, which is probably my favorite character. And it's like, he's this doting butler who like just gets Iruma his socks in the morning and then is one of the most powerful dudes and just a badass, and was a bully to the teacher when he was in high school, and they were in high school together. So everyone has these kind of double personalities or these quirks that are also interesting.
Yeah. So I think it's a really well-built world also. And then I love the, like, character interaction. So, like, a lot like My Hero, where, like, you know, slowly they build this whole, like, team and everyone's working well together. And you don't really see that until season 3, but, like, along the way, like, Iruma, like, picks up, like, new people, you know, in terms of, like, making new friends. And it's just, like, and then they come together and they can work well together. And they, you know, I honestly had a thought that in season 1, when he, like, ended up in, like, the misfit class, and I thought he was going to get bullied. In the beginning, where it's just Az and Claire are his friends, I was expecting the rest of his class to kind of, like, make him an outcast, or just, you know, they don't really get along and kind of thing. And then when you slowly watch it, and, like, he keeps, like, adding another classmate to his friends list kind of thing. And I really enjoyed that. I love stories where it's like everyone comes together and they all work well together, and it's just they become like a well-oiled machine kind of thing, where, you know, with when we talked about Blood of Youth, the Scooby Gang, like, I just love shows like that, especially like My Hero Academia, like, and so I'm starting to see this in Iruma's, you know. So it's just kind of like, I very much enjoy, like, all the friends coming together and, like, you know, becoming your support system kind of thing.
I like the idea that he bonds with each person differently. He doesn't bond with anyone the same. He bonds with Az because they got in a fight and he one-upped him. And Az is like, no one one-ups me. Now, like, I have to follow you and I have to, like, care about you and, like, I have to respect you because you one-upped me.
Well, Az literally calls Iruma master.
Yeah. And then the way he bonds with Claire is he's willing to play with her and spend time with her without expecting anything in return. And she, because of her power, she can kind of create objects. People are always using her. Oh, yeah, I'll play with you in order to get the thing that you can, hey, I want a bottle of soda. Can you create me a bottle of soda? But he agrees to play with her without expecting anything in return. So they bond. And, like, even with the different teachers and stuff, like, he just bonds with everyone a slightly different way. And with Emil, like, you know, the spoiler of the spoiler is, like, she has this hidden trove of these secret books.
Human texts.
Human texts from the human world that are sacred texts that her family owns, and they're manga. They're manga volumes of the story, and so she's only been able to look at the pictures. And now she meets Iruma, who inexplicably can read them. And so they bond over the fact that he can read her these stories that she's only been able to look at in pictures. So it's a whole different way that they bond. And I think that it feels like lazy storytelling would just have him bond with people in a kind of the same, oh, he's tough, so now he's our friend. Or he, you know, does something heroic, so now he's our friend. But he does have to specifically bond with each character a little differently.
So also with Reed, how he bonds with Reed is like, we're first of all working together for this.
It's like a survival competition, basically, right? They have to score enough points in order to advance to the next ranking in this kind of trials. It's like a set of trials.
Yeah. They're partners, but also, like, they play video games together, and that's how they really bonded.
So my one question for you is, do you think the romantic bond works between Emil and Iruma? Like, it starts off definitely like she's kind of scary, right? She's the student body president. Like, everyone's kind of a little scared with her because she, like, rules with an iron fist, which I always find hilarious, that, like, student body presidents wield any kind of power in some of these shows. But it just cracks me up anyway.
That's true. I don't ever know what a student body president does, because I just remember, like, at least when I was in high school, our student body president just, like, made speeches, and then...
Yeah, that's kind of it.
And then they just, like, they're at rallies, you know? That's it.
The only thing I remember our student body president for was, like, I think they were also in yearbook, and they like had something to do with the yearbook, like making decisions about that. And then at the end of our high school year, there's like money left over from fundraisers, and then the senior class like gifts something to the school, and our gift to the school was some like electronic banner sign that's like apparently the student body president is the one who chose that. I guess I don't really know.
I don't know if they really have anything to do with yearbook, because I was on the yearbook committee. I never saw the student body president.
No,
so.
I just think our student body president was. That's it.
Oh,
I don't think that was
okay.
like an acting ability.
Okay. Well, here's the thing. When I first watched it, and they were trying to make Emil as like a Roman, or at least when she started having a crush on Iruma, I was like, oh gosh, please don't do this, right? But then as it went on, I was like for it, because it was I guess the minute that Iruma started blushing, and like he was feeling it, like the minute I thought, oh, Iruma's also interested in her, then I was like, okay, I'm on board. But before that, when it was just a crush, where Emil was like, you know, trying to just like thinking about the manga, and then like finding the parallels with her interactions with Iruma to, you know, the manga, then I was like, oh gosh, here we go, like another delusional character, you know. And then but then as they started interacting more, and then he started kind of like blushing, or like seeing her watching the fireworks, and like you could tell he was like, oh, she's so pretty, then I was like, okay, I'm on board.
Well, she is the first one who kind of suspects that he's a human.
Yes.
And then is using that as an excuse to keep him close, but she really wants him to read the books to her.
Yeah.
And so it's literally just, I should turn this guy in. Well, wait, maybe not. And then it does evolve in her mind.
Yeah.
But I kind of didn't know where they were going with it, because it didn't feel quite right at the beginning. I was like, okay, sure. Like, it's like the manga parallels like weren't enough for me.
Yeah, it felt like a forced romance.
Really forced. But as it continued, like, they're just kind of fun and quirky and so awkward together, because she's also like twice his size, like, and she's like an upperclassman, and he's this little tiny dweeb who has to like basically stand on the equivalent of an apple box to like look at her eye to eye. He's also so oblivious to anything, like, let alone like a love angle. He's just oblivious to basically danger and responsibility and anything.
Yeah, even like when the first villain shows up, he like doesn't notice at all.
No, because he's looking at things through, oh, everyone's great. Like, even he doesn't even realize how shitty his parents are. Like,
True.
Like he does, but at the same time, like, when your childhood is that crappy, you don't know any different, and so he doesn't know his parents are like abusive users until kind of later, when he kind of has to face his own fears, and he kind of realizes like, oh, facing my parents, like, that was a bad situation.
Yeah.
But so like when life is that bad, sometimes you don't realize that other things are also that bad. Like, oh, that's just normal.
It's not until he starts feeling like, oh, people are treating him like nicely, and he gets to live a life that he never thought he would ever live. That's when he realized. And the subject comes up where, like, you know, he's offered a chance to return to the human world, and he gets scared of that opportunity, and he does not want it. He wants to live in the demon world because he's enjoying himself so much.
Well, he has friends, he has support system, and he's finding out that these demons who should want to eat him for food, like, care about him. Yeah. And like, and it's not just put on, it's like they actually care about his well-being, and like they go to bat for him and have his back in a way that no one had ever been like that in the human world. And he'd always been this kind of optimistic and like, don't worry guys, we'll get through this, we'll mop this floor, and everyone else is like, this is horrible. And they kind of used him and his hard work and this upgoing attitude. But now this attitude he has built is kind of getting rewarded, because everyone's looking at him going, oh, he's pretty cool. Like, look how like optimistic, and how he's always willing to charge into battle, even if it's the dumb thing to do, and that he's not powerful enough to take down the bad guy.
Yeah. But he's also bringing good qualities out of his, like, misfit classmates. So, like, he's, like, helping others be better. That part is, like, a really good characteristic. I think his whole character was really well built in terms of, like, how the best thing that, like, his only ability is, like, to always be able to dodge something.
That's something I really want to dig into, because I think that, to me, was the first stroke of genius of the show. Because I'm like, how is this guy going to survive the demon world? He's got no skills, no magic. And the way they built it, it's just, he's used to getting shit on, and so he knows how to dodge the shit. That's his ability.
Yeah. But also his, like, inability to say no ever. But, like, a lot of times, like, you would get into a lot of trouble if you can't say no. But for him, it just, like, it actually kind of works out for him. And then he's able to, like, try new things, or, you know, and so I think his character is so, like, well, like, laid out that it's kind of fun watching how he, normally you would think, oh, he's a weakling, you know, and usually we want to see our main lead to be, like, the big hero, and he is, because he's righteous, and he, you know, he's good to his friends, and he's sincere to everybody. And so it's just this, like, it's like a really nice change. In general, story-wise, everyone loves an underdog. So, but he's, like, kind of a really, like, well-formulated underdog.
Yeah, I think I was wondering how they were going to differentiate him from, like, a Deku character, who Deku starts out having no powers and then gaining some powers, and his whole growth as a character is, how does he harness these powers? And I was like, well, how are they going to do an underdog story with this kid who lives in the demon world, who has really no demon qualities? He can't fly, he can't use magic, but they gave him just enough to be scrappy. And this show isn't really about him harnessing his powers as much as it is him harnessing his friends.
Yeah.
And so I was like, the idea that he can dodge any attack, and that no matter what Az threw at him in their first encounter, he just dodge until he kind of almost accidentally get the winning blow. And then the idea that he can never say no. If he's asked to do something, he automatically is like, oh, okay. Because it's just how he was raised. He's been raised to be a yes man by his parents. So, like, you want to do this? Yes, of course.
Yeah.
And those two things together combined set a really nice platform for the rest of the show to kind of always bounce back to. And it makes it consistent, it makes him consistent and likable and an underdog, but not in a traditional sense of the underdog will now slowly get stronger by accumulating skills. It's like not really his trajectory.
I felt like something that I didn't really like was that there were times when I felt like there were kind of lulls in the show where I'm like, okay, I don't really care about what's happening right now, and I'll go pick up my phone and start playing on my phone. So, and because I'm playing on my phone, I don't even remember what those lulls were because I just wasn't paying attention. So there are definitely some filler episodes that's just like kind of like, oh, I don't really care.
Yeah, I think there are filler episodes and kind of things. The one thing that comes to mind is like the first time they go to Clara's house. I can't even remember why they went there. But then when they go there a second time, they're like, oh, you guys were here before. And I was like, what? They were? Why?
Yeah.
And so it kind of felt a little unnecessary. Like it felt maybe just a way to get Clara in the show and introduce her crazy family. And I think they had to go pick the vegetable that was in that area of the woods or whatever.
Yeah.
So it wasn't that memorable. And I think what you said of like, I felt myself zoning out in some of those times where there wasn't anything really at stake for the things they were doing. There was a lot of scenes where he was reading manga to Emil, and it was like, okay, I get it. Like we get the joke now, like that he's reading manga to her.
Yeah.
And she's kind of like daydreaming and like, really enjoying it, but there wasn't really any progression there.
Yeah, that's what I wanted to say was like, I wish they had done more progression between them instead of spent so much time with like the same thing over and over again. There were times when like, when Iruma joined the student council.
Oh, yeah, when he joined it for a short period, yeah.
Yeah, and I'm like, there could have been more progression between them if they wanted to to have some kind of more like romantic interaction, but it's always been the same thing. So it kind of gets a little tiring, especially when now I'm on that boat where I'm like, okay, I'm ready for this to happen. Like, not that I think that they need to like be a couple or date like right away, but I wanted to see more of that, and like things that are more like cutesy rather than him always like reading to her and it's the same thing over and over again, or like she notices that he's dressed as that little celebrity singer when he was helping the glasses girl. So like those moments I wish was a little bit more and a little bit better.
The part for me that really lulled was when they were trying to get recruited by the different battlers. And it was like and so basically like the battlers are school clubs. And so they're each trying to get like recruited into the different school club, and they like go to each club and they like have to meet with them, and there's the dodgeball club, and there's the like radio club that does the school announcements or whatever, or the announcement club, I don't know. I thought that went on for way too long, to the point where I'm like, what's even happening? Like, why are they doing any of this?
Yeah, I didn't even remember that. Like, I totally just, the Battler stuff, like, just kind of went over my head. Maybe that's exactly when I was playing on my phone.
I think if they would have gotten into it and just dealt with it a little faster,
yeah,
I think it would have been fine, but it felt like they spent a lot of real estate, like, getting to know very secondary characters who don't really need that much character work done to them. Like, I don't really care about the kid making the school announcements, so I don't really need to know him and the people in his, like, I don't need to hear their pitch to Iruma of why he should be in their battler.
Yeah. Well, other than the fact that later, like, they're the reason that they got tickets to go to that concert, the Glasses Girl concert.
Yeah, but I mean,
yeah. Also, like, that could have been done totally differently, or like, but like with the whole battlers, ultimately they get into that club, which introduces them to the first villain, or maybe the only villain.
Yeah, it just took a long time to get to him.
Yeah.
I felt there was a lot of just kind of hemming and hawing to get to that point where they meet the person they're supposed to meet to progress the story.
Yeah.
Also, the whole dodgeball thing, the whole dodgeball part of it, where they're like playing dodgeball, like, I like what it ultimately led to, of like Iruma kind of standing up for himself and like having that hero moment where he, gets to like learn how to be a dodgeball player. And I get it all and I understand, but it took a really long time. There were so many episodes of him training to play dodgeball, and then playing dodgeball and losing, and then training to play more dodgeball, and then winning dodgeball, and then going to the dodgeball battler, and they're like, you should join our dodgeball battler, because we had it, and like, okay, enough dodgeball.
Every long anime has those filler episodes. Inuyasha had a lot of filler episodes, and I enjoyed those filler episodes, so it's just a matter of how you do those filler episodes, and I think the filler episodes in Iruma is like kind of weak.
Yeah, they don't dive into other characters they do eventually, but I think sometimes those filler episodes don't give us really much to chew on other than character interaction.
Yeah.
And because there's nothing behind it, there's no, ultimate goal or thing that can be obtained in the episode itself. It like takes 2 or 3 episodes to get to the thing that, oh, we won a dodgeball, or oh, he joined the battler and we meet this new quirky weird character that we're not sure about. The fact that it took 3 episodes to get there instead of just 1 makes it just really slow down, in my opinion, in those moments.
So I'm gonna say something else that bothers me, and maybe other people think differently, but I really hate that Clara has a crush on Iruma. There's 2 reasons. Because I'm already on the Iruma Emil, ship. So I'm like, get away, Clara. Like, he already has a girl kind of thing. And the second reason is I think Az and Clara should be together. Like, because they're such, like, an odd couple, and, like, and they fight, like, all the time. But, like, more, like, bickering, And so I would really very much like to, see like some kind of romantic progression with Az and Clara. So I am so not for Clara and Iruma. So
I don't like it for a completely different reason.
okay.
And my reason for not liking it is she has the mentality of like a 9 or 10-year-old. Like, she just wants to play. She wants to play games. She doesn't want to take anything seriously. Like, she's not good at school. Like, she just wants to play, play, play. And the reason she likes Iruma as a friend is, can he come outside and play? And he will. That's it. There's no romantic, like, oh, he's a boy and I'm a girl and maybe we could be together. No, it's like, he plays with me. And she even says that a few times. Like, I just like him because he plays with me. And then the other girls are like, but don't you like him? And then she was like, oh, maybe I like him. Whereas the beginning of a love story having to be told
that you like him.
Yeah. It's like, oh, this is a love story, right? It's like, no, he's just a friend. Are you sure? Maybe I like him. I'm like, that's just the worst beginning to a love story ever. So I'm like, they're not going to be together. Like, that's not going to be his love interest in the show.
Yeah.
So why give that to us? Because what you're talking about is so much more juicy, because her and Az are kind of rivals for Iruma's affection or playtime.
Yeah.
And the fact that they fight like brother and sister, and they fight all the time, and they're always, no, Master likes me better, and no, he likes me better. That turning into a love story is appealing because it's coming from an unexpected place.
Yeah.
So I don't like when you're setting up, when one character is told by another character, hey, you should really like that character, and then you go, oh, okay. That's just flat and boring and horrible.
Yeah.
And I don't want to see those two characters together after that, because she literally had to be told, hey, do you think it would be an option for you to be together? She'd never thought of it before.
Although she did get very, very angry when Emil kind of became in Aruma's space. That interaction more. It's kind of cool that she became friends with all the girls, but she needs more friends for sure. But I kind of liked that animosity from Clara to, Emil. It's not that Clara hated Emil because she was a romantic rival. It was more like, oh, this person is taking away more playtime from me.
Yeah, that was it. It was simple as that. And that was the character dynamic I liked between the two of them, is that she's protective of Iruma's time. Like, well, if you're behind closed doors with red hair lady, you're not out in the yard playing with me.
Yeah.
And it's not this jealousy thing of, oh no, only one of us can love him, which I find completely false. Now, one thing I know that you didn't like very much, that I didn't mind so much because I liked what it did for the story, but one thing you really didn't like very much was when Iruma had his evil face.
I can't even remember why I didn't like it, other than I like Iruma because he's Iruma, his cute, naivety, and I just didn't like him evil.
He was a very different character. He's confident, he's has a plan, he's very calculating. He's a very different character. He's not the same person at all.
I think also I didn't like it because of the little shadow guy in his ring.
You don't know whether to trust that guy.
Yeah, because I'm a very suspicious person anyway, and this shadow guy, I'm like, oh, he's gonna be bad for him. And then he turns Iruma into his evil phase, and then I'm immediately see, he's bad.
See, it's funny because you look at it as terms of bad and good, and I look at it in terms of human and demon. So to me, the ring guy is trying to teach him how to be a good demon.
Okay.
And part of being a demon is you kind of got to be a bad guy sometimes, because they all have this evil phase that comes out. That's part of being a demon. They kind of set that up. Demons get really aggressive if they don't offload that somehow. That's why they have pop stars and concerts. They can all go and sing, and they can offload that anxiety or whatever it is, whatever you want to call it. And then if they don't do that, if they don't have an outlet for it, it builds up and you become evil and you become a bad guy for a period of time until that kind of boils off. So to me, every time he does something bad, I was like, is this being bad or is he teaching him how to become a demon?
Yeah, okay. Okay, I see that. And also, I mean, like, in his evil phase, he ended up doing good for his class. And, like, I do like that part, so...
I do agree with you, though. If we would have watched much more of him in the evil phase, I would have gotten really sick of it, because it's not what the show is. It's not who his character is.
Yeah.
I don't know, this is a horrible dated reference, but it's like, remember Family Matters when Steve Urkel would become Stefan Urkel?
Yeah.
And I was like, the first time it happens, you're like, oh, it's novel, and they have this actor who doesn't really have a squeaky voice, so they can do this kind of suave character. But you do too much Stefan Urkel, and you're like, well, this isn't the show.
Yeah.
And so I feel like with Iruma's evil phase, it would have been really difficult to watch that for too long.
Yeah.
I thought it was about the right length. They did a couple episodes where he had this evil phase and he went toe-to-toe with Calico and was like, hey, I'm going to outsmart you. But I'm glad they didn't do it for too long, because I think I would have gotten very sick of it.
Yeah. Yeah, because we like Iruma as Iruma.
One thing I wish they would do more of, because it's one of the first things that happens in the show, is that he's supposed to pick a familiar, and it's supposed to be a creature, and then through, he doesn't know what he's doing. He doesn't know how to become a demon. He doesn't know how to be a good demon. He accidentally makes the teacher his familiar, so he can basically summon him whenever he wants, and this tough, badass teacher who has these hellhounds as his kind of familiar turns into this cute, puffy little owl, bird, whatever he is.
I thought he was a penguin.
Penguin, whatever.
He looked like a penguin to me.
But I don't think they go to that well quite enough, because he's so scared to summon him.
Yeah.
And in fact, the only time he's willing to summon him is when someone says, hey, you should summon him. And because of his predilection of never being able to say no, then he does it, and he instantly regrets it.
Yeah. Honestly, I go through moments where I'm like, he should summon him. He should summon him. Like, anytime, I felt like they needed help, he never actually and even, Calico goes, how come you didn't summon me?
Like, when you were in danger.
Yeah. And I forgot what his reasoning was.
I think he said he forgot. He was like, oh, right, I could have done that. I think he literally doesn't think to do it, because he doesn't want Calico to hate him or be angry or eat him.
But I really like that aspect as well. And I want him to, eventually fake it. I mean, I do like that he solves problems on his own and doesn't need someone to come in and rescue him all the time. That's a really good trait of his. But I do, at some point where, it becomes, a really big deal, I feel like you should get some teacher help.
I agree. I wish they used it more.
Yeah. Another thing I'm really not that into is this bad guy who, he belongs to some six.
I don't know. Yeah, whatever. The Hateful Eight, the Doofy Six, whatever they're called.
Yeah, and so this, gang that's trying to turn, their civilized demon society into, reverting to being, evil. They want them to be in their evil phase all the time, kind of thing. They do dumb things that I don't know why it would even work, the whole taking over the theme park.
The first part of that I understood. They were doing a prison break.
Yeah.
I understood the first part of that, and then after that, I didn't quite get...
It didn't really make sense.
Yeah, I don't think their bad guy plans quite work yet, and I think maybe part of that is we haven't spent any time developing that part in the show.
Yeah. The bad guys are such, caricatures, and they're just, doing bad things for the sake of doing bad... they just needed a villain, so they just stuck some kind of weird reasoning behind it. I don't ever really think they thought it through that much. In My Hero Academia, all the villains were so vetted out, and each of them had their own goals. They have their own backstory. Each villain could have their own anime about themselves. Whereas, in Iruma, first of all, it's, the same villain over and over again. And then it just, and nothing, really works that way. And then they're, thwarted really easily. So it's just kind of, this throwaway, and it just makes it kind of, I don't know, a little cheap, I think.
I mean, we're 3 seasons into it, right? We're 3 seasons into this, and we don't know anything about any of the bad guys, really.
Yeah.
You don't know what, like, other than we want to bring society back to the way it used to be, you know, the strong rule the weak, and like,
Yeah.
you know, demons are supposed to be evil, but you don't know anything about who they are or what they like want in their hearts or what their past is. Like,
They try to do a little bit of like a flashback with that kid and his friend, and him basically betraying her, and then just loving like the devastation on her face, and that's why he's evil, is like,
he likes to see despair in the eyes of the weak.
yeah, and then everyone's like, you truly are evil, and it's just so like generic in my opinion. So
to me, it's the opposite of what Demon Slayer does, because I feel like Demon Slayer dives too deep into the bad guys, and it gives you, and it just makes you want to, like, I think they are trying to make you cry with every story about a demon, because all these demons are victims of the process of what life is.
Yeah.
So like our inner demons eat us up, and it's the kind of thematic resonance of Demon Slayer as a whole.
Yeah.
So I get why they do it, but sometimes you're like, okay, enough already with them. And my sister was starving to them. Shut up. But this show goes the other way.
You're so heartless.
I am. Because they're demons and they're like murdering people, and then you get like a 20-minute like soliloquy of like, look at me, my life was so hard. I'm like, it's too much. But you need some of it, like you say, like My Hero Academia, like they give you enough from the bad guys to go, oh, I know why they're doing that.
Yeah.
I know why they don't like heroes or don't like what heroes stand for.
Yeah, they do it so well.
But this show, I think, goes the opposite end of Demon Slayer, where they don't tell you anything.
Yeah. Because that's not what they put all their effort in.
No.
But I do think they should have put more effort in it.
If you're going to have these overarching bad guys, the fact that neither of us can remember like what the stupid six is called.
Yeah.
If you're going to give us that group, you need to put a little effort behind it so that it's memorable, and so that we're always waiting for them to pop up.
Yeah.
We're always waiting for them to like rear their head and spoil the vacation the kids are going on or whatever. And I think that is why My Hero Academia does it so well, is that you set up this league of villains and you set up like what they want and who they are, and then you don't have to spend very much time with them. And then they pop up, and then they end up spending a lot of time with them. Mm-hmm. I think their bad guy plan, their bad guy like overall arching story needs a lot of work. I don't know.
It should have happened way earlier.
Oh, we're 3 seasons in, and we don't know much about him at all.
Yeah. Well, the blue hair guy,
I think he would have been a good one-off villain.
Yeah, I don't think he should have come back.
I think I thought he served his purpose as a kind of a low-level villain for Iruma to defeat in high school. It was like the right size of villain for him to fight.
Yeah.
And the second they were like breaking him out of prison, and he's really a member of the silly six. I don't know. I was like, really? We got to go back to this guy?
Yeah.
That's the best we can do? Like, I would love to see an evolution with the bad guys there, whether it's the evolution of the plan or the characters or something, or the threat. I just want to know why they're doing anything that they're doing.
Yeah.
Definitely the weakest part of the show, I think, so far. So since this is an ongoing show, we can talk about something we don't normally get to talk about with these one-off dramas, right? Which is, what's going to happen? What is the next season going to look like? And what are we hoping from a potential, or it's pretty much confirmed, season 4 of Iruma-kun Goes to Demon School?
I know this is not really going to happen, but I really want to see it happen, is that Iruma becoming a badass. Like, just kicking ass. Which I don't think, it's definitely not that type of anime, but it would be really nice for him to just, like, fight.
Yeah. I mean, he's the hero, right?
Yeah, he's the hero. I want him to be the hero, to see him be the hero, to beat somebody up, a bad guy up or something, but I know that's not going to happen.
Well, I mean, again, not to reference My Hero Academia the entire episode here, but there were little tricks that they used in that show to give Deku, even though he was very weak at the time, to give him moments where he was strong.
Yeah.
and give him moments where he did kick a little ass to give us that little glimpse into the future of how badass he's going to be someday. And then they would pull it back and he would be normal Deku again and would barely survive every fight he's in. So as I'm watching, I keep wondering if we're going to see some of those tricks, some of those like kind of one-off badasseries where he's able to harness the magic for one move and then he's able to do it and he's able to be a badass and then it's like, well, I can't ever do that again because it almost killed me or something. I'm wondering if they're going to use some of those tricks.
Well, I do feel like they're trying to build that up now with like the amount of power he can use on his ring, or through his ring, and then how like his little demon shadow guy can like eat up powerful magic, and then also with now him learning how to shoot the arrow.
Oh, I mean, he has some potential for badassery. I'd forgotten about the whole archery angle.
Yeah. What did they say? Like, he was only going to be able to shoot it once. He had to choose his shot, like, wisely and stuff. But I'm like, he's starting to like, attain different powers or, like, different abilities. So I'm ready to see it. I know he's still in, like, learning phase. And, I mean, he is, like, going to demon high school. But I'm ready to see some badassery.
I think they're poised for it. I think we'll see glimpses. I don't think they're going to give us
what we want.
I don't think they're going to give us the whole meal to chew on. I think they're going to give us little pieces at a time.
Little snack.
Little bits, little snacks of him being kind of cool. I think what's more likely is who's he going to befriend next? Like who's he going to bring into his crew over the course of another season? Are we going to introduce brand new characters that come out of nowhere? They've kind of set it up a little bit with his interactions with one of the Stupid Six at the theme park. Like she kind of followed him around for a little bit.
Yes.
And then she went back to be on the bad guy side. I can definitely see at some point him turning some of the bad guys to be
that would be
good
nice.
Guys.
Yeah.
More than like actually beating them up. Just kind of winning them over, which is kind of what he tends to do. I think the other thing that I'm looking forward to seeing him do is whatever we're expecting from him kind of surpassing that. Because even with the arrow training and stuff, it's always like he eventually takes it to where everyone thinks he will go, and then he goes a step beyond that. And whether that's, when he went to the classroom where they had to like grow the thing, and then he grew the giant cherry blossom tree or whatever.
Yeah.
I enjoy that part of the show where he kind of exceeds the expectations of the other people.
Yeah.
So maybe fighting-wise, he'll at some point exceed the expectations of us, and we'll get to see him do a little badassery.
Yeah, that would be nice. So another thing is I really want to see more romantic progression. I want Emil and him to I just want Iruma to acknowledge the feelings. I think that's what I'm really because right now, Iruma is oblivious to everything. And even when you show him blushing because she's so pretty and them going on their date together, which was very cute. I just want him to start feeling the feels, instead of just very oblivious and it just seems like Emil is the only one interested. I want him to be acknowledge that he's also interested. And I don't even need them to be dating or even holding hands or anything like that. I just want him to be oh yeah, I do have feelings for her also. Kind of.
What's interesting is that I don't doubt he actually does like her. I don't think he thinks that she could possibly like him.
That's true.
I think the reason he's so oblivious is that he can't imagine a world where, she's incredible, right? She's super powerful demon. She's, got her stuff together. She's a student body president. Everyone wants to be with her.
Yeah.
I don't think he can imagine in his mind, wait, why would she want me? And I think that's why he's so oblivious. I think that might have to be a turn at some point of him going, oh, no, she's not interested. No.
Yeah.
And whether it's a friend or some realization that it's no, she's into you, dude. And then he has a whole other problem because now a girl is into him. And he has a whole different set of problems of anxiety and self-doubt and all that stuff.
Yeah. Wait, did Clara ever say anything to him that she liked him?
Well, doesn't she say something and he basically is I don't know how to let her down. I thought that was part of it, where she says, I like you, and he doesn't really respond. And then he says to someone later, like, how do I let her down, basically? I don't think these things were said explicitly, but I do remember that's kind of the vibe, where he's like, oh, I don't know how to, like, not be a jerk.
Yeah, I think I remember that, but it wasn't as clear. Yeah, Clara, you step off.
Oh boy, this clear ship emerging in Mel's mind.
Definitely. And get on Az, damn it.
I thought the way they were going to go, as far as like love triangle, and not even that it's really a triangle at this point, it's just very early days. I thought they were going to go the pop star girl who's like always so angry at him for like standing out, and like she wants to stand out and then he doesn't even want to and just always does. I thought there was going to be a turn there with them before the whole, like, they turned to Claire and was like, do you like Iruma? And I was like, oh, the pop star glasses girl is kind of a better candidate for that, because she kind of despises him at the beginning.
Yeah.
But they're so similar, and like, but they want completely opposite things, and he just helped her in such a huge way. Like, you could see how that could formulate a crush.
The thing is, there are times when, like, they mention something about Iruma and Glasses Girl does blush. So, like, I feel like it's like they're kind of weighing the options, and so they're, like, dangling that, like, possibility in front of us. But, yeah, I don't know. They're working the Clara angle, and it just doesn't work, and so they should give up. You hear me?
Well, we'll see if they listen in season 4.
I doubt anyone will listen to me.
Well, changing subjects from the love triangles and the love storylines. Something I really want to see, and I don't know, I feel like they'll go here eventually, I don't know how quickly they will go, is the backstory between Calico, Opera, Sullivan, like what happened in the past. Because Sullivan, like, I'm not saying between all of them, I'm saying Sullivan, like, how did he get to be the chairman? How did he get to that place? Like, who was he before he wanted a grandson? Like, what tripped in his mind where he's like, what I really want in life is a grandson to dote on? Like, because he's an ambitious position. Like, he has an ambitious position. He had to have worked to get there, right? So, but then on the other hand of like Opera and Caligo and Professor Balaam, their interactions as high school students, and the fact that Opera was their upperclassman, and Caligo was like the one who was like mistaken for Opera because he was kind of a psychopath, and like he had to deal with all this like rumors about him, and I just want to know and see like more of that interaction when they were younger.
Their interactions were so good, like when like Opera kind of likes to bully Caligo, and like, and then and how like Caligo became Balaam's like friend, because like Balaam has said like everyone avoided him and was scared of him, but for some reason him and Caligo are friends, and you kind of feel like Caligo is like, you know, that perfectionist, like nitpicky guy that no one can be friends with, you know, and it's like, how did they become friends with the addition of Opera? And like, you know, and of course Opera loves to bully Caligo, and he takes so much, and that's like the only thing, because Opera's always been like the nice guy that always helps Iruma, and he's, you know, he's like the level-headed guy, and then all of a sudden Caligo comes into the picture, and Opera's like, I'm gonna bully him.
Yeah, I want to know like the full history of those. Especially those two, I think more than
Balaam.
I do like his introduction, and I do think Caligo is treated as such a like out for himself, kind of selfish, persnickety, just, you know, I'm so much better than anyone else. Like, he's so above the fray, but then he has a soft spot for this kind of outcast teacher.
Yeah.
And then obviously like he's like, I'm not scared of anyone, and then he sees Opera and he just kind of shrinks a little bit. Like, they don't overplay it either, which is what I like about it.
Yeah.
But I want to know like how that all shook down a little more than we know now. Like, we know bits and pieces. It would be fun to see some flashbacks there.
Yeah.
And then on the other side, I desperately want to know how Opera became a butler to Sullivan. Like you're talking about in the show, as we've seen it, Opera is probably the second most powerful demon we've seen on the show.
Yeah.
And second only to Sullivan. Yet he's completely content being a butler and looking after Iruma and just living this weird butler life.
Yeah. But also, like, Caligo got in so much trouble for looking like, or like fitting the description of Opera, right? And then like, because he's a murdering, terrible demon. And then, but what the Opera that we see is this kind of like really put together. Even when Iruma and Emil like ruin the kitchen and everything they cook, Opera spends the time to just teach them. And it's like, how did he go from like terrible and evil to kind of very abiding butler? Is like kind of an interesting story. And like this, it almost is like, oh, we can just have another anime about Opera.
Yeah, there's definitely a switch that must have been flipped at some point with him. I mean, was he part of like old school demons, like tough is the best thing, and then met Sullivan, and there's some sort of turn that happened in his life. We just haven't seen any of that yet.
Yeah, and it'd be kind of interesting to see. I don't know if they will get to that, at least in season 4, but
they've given us enough of it, which makes me think they'll dive in at some point. I just don't know how soon. It's one of those things where as a writer, I think you always have that in your back pocket. Like if you need a quote-unquote filler episode, you have these flashbacks at your disposal. You just need to know when to use them at the right point and make them consistent with what's going on in the present. And so there's a reason we're seeing the flashbacks. So I don't doubt they will go there. I just don't know when. Okay,
so I would rate this in the buffet line. Basically, the lulls is like being in a long line and waiting, to get the food, and so maybe I lose concentration and forget about the food for a while, but I'm still in that line waiting for my chance to grab my food items. So, yeah.
I would have to agree. I want to rate it a little higher. Like part of me has a soft spot for this one because I like the camaraderie ones. I like his character as the underdog that we're seeing. I like this version of underdog stories. I don't always love underdog stories. I think sometimes they're a little played out and sometimes they're very predictable.
Yeah, and over like the fake like pulling at heartstrings part, like I hate some of those where it's like they're not really an underdog or they're making it overly underdog just to like kind of force you to like them.
Yeah, and I think he's charming as a lead character, like a little over earnest, and I like the cast of characters around him. But there's just a few things in it that the lulls really got me. I think, like you said, the Clara kind of love detour, that's not even that big of a part of the show. So I would also rate it in the buffet line. I think it's really well done. I'm looking forward to another season. It's one of those, when you finish season 3, you're like, oh, that's it? That's all that's available? And I'm like, oh, well, that sucks.
Yeah, you're like, and waiting for new seasons of anime are like, it's torture. Because like, it takes so long, and then when they start airing it, you're like, oh wait, what happened? Because it's been years since their last season that aired. So hopefully it'll be faster.
I always worry about too, like the manga not being able to keep up from the anime. I don't know if this one was based on a manga. A lot of them come out of that world, but you see a lot of these other shows that the anime catches up to the manga, and then it's just, and then you're just waiting forever, and then the studio goes under.
Yeah.
And now we're never going to see another episode of whatever that was. So hopefully that doesn't happen, because I'd really like to watch more of this one.
Yes. So this week's rec, I want to stay kind of similar to the same path as Iruma-kun. Basically, it is a Chinese animation. It is called Are You Okay? And the first season aired in 2020, and we are currently waiting for the second season. It can be watched on iQIYI. Second season is slated to air October of 2023, but as of right now, it just says coming soon on iQIYI. But so we're gonna recommend the season 1. It takes place in ancient China, and there are these transmigrators that come from the future and basically inhabit bodies that are currently in ancient China. And because it's happening so frequently that the government has decided to employ these transmigrators.
So basically the current government wants to use the knowledge of these people from the future to make their society that they have better.
So then, because the jobs are, they pay well, they have good benefits and things like that, people are just claiming to be transmigrators and trying to pass and pretend to get a good job and get higher pay. So they had to create a whole agency that basically filters out all the fakes. Fast forward to Zhou Yuanqi, who basically tries to infiltrate this agency to the point where he can sing the alphabet song. So he does so well, and you would think that he would pass, but the head of this agency, Lao Zhu, basically can see right through his bullshit right away. And so for whatever reason, some things happen, and Lao Zhu actually keeps that secret and allows him to play his part as the transmigrator, even though Lao Zhu totally knows that he's fake.
And the tone of this is kind of comedic, right? Like he goes in and he's making these guys do the song and dance of oh, tell me what a red light, green light does. Things that you would have to know if you were from the future. And this kid seemingly has all the answers at first.
Yes. So after Lao Zhu allows Zhou Yuanqi to play his role as the transmigrator, they seemingly have to work together to basically overcome a plan to overthrow the current government. So it's very humorous. There's some action and adventure. Two kind of people who you wouldn't think would be friends become friends or become allies, and they work together. So it's kind of an interesting watch, and I think it's funny, it's silly, it's quirky.
The thing I like about it is also seeing the subtle differences between Japanese anime and Chinese anime and the similarities they borrow from Japanese anime, but then kind of make it their own distinctive style. I think it's very interesting. Because when you say anime, people always just assume Japanese anime. So it was nice to see something from a little bit of a different perspective, but still keep that humor, that silliness, the camaraderie thematics throughout the whole thing, the family thematics. I wouldn't call them villains to friends, rivals to friends, but it's kind of like that. They don't start out as the most obvious pairing and then grow to kind of depend on each other.
Yeah. So I definitely recommend this. Give it a watch. It is on iQIYI.
And that does it for this episode of the Drama Means podcast. We're going to be back next week with an episode filled to the brim with dramas we dropped. Ones that we won't be doing full episodes on because we didn't watch the whole thing. And we're going to be talking a little bit of shit because these ones were bad.
Yeah. I think the shit talking will come more from Ryan, but...
Because when I don't like something, I will be very forward with my opinions. And that's probably why Mel drops them, because she's sick of me sitting there going, ugh.
There's actually a few that we might talk about, but I actually still want to finish. But because Ryan's complained about it so much, that I'm like, I'm not going to watch it with you anymore. I'm just going to go finish it off on my own.
There are a few of them that to me are not watchable, that I've given up on the characters or given up on the story structure or given up on the writers because I feel like they're being lazy. So we're going to talk about all those ones that we've dropped that we're not going to be doing full rankings of, but still kind of giving them their day in court is the wrong way, because I think we'll be thrashing them a little bit, but talking about them and hopefully pitching some fixes maybe of why they were bad and what they could have done to make them better. So stick around for that. That'll be next week. And thank you so much for listening to this week as we talked about Iruma-kun Goes to Demon School. And if you haven't listened to other episodes of the podcast, go back, look at the catalog. There's not that much to catch up on. So you'll be all caught up in no time at all.
Yes. See you next week.